Good morning, guys. It's Goose here. Welcome to STN Stock Talk with my man Ricky. Listen, StockTraders.net, we're a leading online trading community. I really hope you guys have gone and visited StockTraders.net and logged into our free trading room. The reason I keep telling you and reminding you that is, it is a free trading room. You guys could sign up there and feel free to send any of our instructors any kind of questions that you might have regarding the broadcast that we're doing. And I just want to remind you, everything that we're covering, this is not a solicitation or anything like that with these ideas. We're just throwing you our thoughts on a few things every day to give you some more ammo and for you guys to evaluate it and put it into your trading plan if it's something that you like. Read the disclaimer below, please, in the description section. And again, we also are only trying to throw a few a day at you. We're trying to do this every day at 9:05. Tell your friends about us, guys, and hopefully you guys are getting some value out of these broadcasts because we're trying to put a lot into it and try to give you guys new ideas and fresh thoughts every single day at this time. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it right over to Ricky. I know he's got a few really good ones this morning and anxious to see what he has to say. So you're on, Ricky.
Thanks a lot, Goose. Hey, everybody, it's Ricky Analog here. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone's doing well. And as always, it would be a big help to us if everyone could like, share, and subscribe. We're always trying to bring value to our community, and we would love it if everyone could help spread the word. And speaking of bringing value to the community, Goose put on a webinar last night for the premium members that was very well done. It was on setting yourself up for success as a trader, and the importance of that cannot be overstated. So let's get into my list, guys. First thing I'm looking at is DDD, or 3D systems. As much as I am a super big nerd and I love 3D printing, I have to be rational when looking at what I will trade. So 3D is up because they have issued forward-looking earnings results that beat on revs, and they may or may not beat on earnings. However, the move is in complete anticipation of this since they're also filing for submitting their 10K late. So looking at this from a technical perspective, you can see it's gapping right up into some pretty significant overhead resistance. So the play on this one's going to be pretty black and white. Either this is going to break that resistance, test and hold, and we're going to look to get long, or we're going to watch for that resistance to reject price and then look to short from here, with 10 probably being the first logical target. I'm going to keep my bias on this one really nimble and most likely use only half size on the trade. But if you guys don't know how to see when price is rejecting or accepting an area, definitely head on over to Stock Traders where we can get you squared away on that. Next thing on my list, guys, is NVAX. Now, these guys are gapping up on positive top-line results from a phase 1/2 clinical trial, and the float on this thing is pretty massive. So I think it's going to be hard for them to hold this up. They have a $75 million ATM with our boys over at B. Riley, and have stated that they're going to be conducting a phase 2 trial in the third quarter of this year. They aren't completely strapped for cash, but they do burn over $11 million a month, and the clinical trials are expensive. So they could use this pop to either get another offering done from their recently active shelf, or they could simply sell into the pop with the ATM. But either way, I'm going to be leaning short bias on this one. Going to have to stay cautious, though, with it, since as of right now, we are breaking out the 52-week highs, which also happens to be a 19-month base as well. And let me go ahead and bring up this chart and show you guys. You can see on the daily it was putting in this nice uptrend, and then we break from what is basically your typical flag pennant formation. But if you zoom out, see here, you guys can see how long this base has been building. And for me, from a technical perspective, the longer a base builds, the more significant it is when it finally breaks that base. So that's the reason we have to stay cautious on it. But because the float is so big on it, it's really hard for me to imagine this thing running up to the $4 level. But we're going to have to wait and see. The side note on it is they do actually have the SSR on for the day. So keep that in mind. Last thing on my list today, guys, is MNGA, or MNGA Corp. And these guys are very well known as a turd. Most microcap traders are extremely familiar with this little guy. And I mean, the chart speaks for itself. This is the daily. But there's some preferred convertible stock that may dampen this run. But in my opinion, shorting this thing is insane, especially at these levels. They did a reverse split pretty recently. The float is under $1 million, guys. This thing has not had a big run in a while, and if it's going to, it's most likely going to start from this point. This does not mean I will long this stock. I need to make that perfectly clear. I just want to make sure that everyone that is following us is aware of what they're playing with. And in the case of MNGA, I really think you're playing with fire on the short side, guys, plain and simple. So that being said, I'm going to toss it over to my man Goose. I know he's got some good ones cooking, so let's hear him, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Ricky. Great job as always. Appreciate it. I'm just going to dive right in and get right into Watt. So Watt, guys, is I always put my disclaimer in there saying, when I cover one of these from the long side, it's not that I love the company or think that it deserves to be at a level fundamentally or anything like that. I'm talking about what I see on the technical side. What I'm seeing on Watt right now is a really beautiful setup for another push. I hate to say it, but I'm feeling like this thing is ready to come right off of this 21 area and a push back up in those mid 20s or better. I wouldn't be surprised to see this squeeze pretty hard. I would have thought that it would have maybe broke off after this push here into this old consolidation area. But it really hasn't faded a lot. It's been holding 21, and I'm kind of sensing a push on this name. We'll see what happens. If it breaks down through 21, I don't think it's broken if it holds 20. But I would take I plan to take my position off. If it does crack down through 21, I'll reevaluate it, see if it holds 20, which is the 20-day. You got the 50-day grouped up there. But I feel like this is revving up for a nice push, and I'm going to be all over this name from the long end. So I'm going to move along, and I'm going to talk about Trip. I've covered Trip before, and I want to just show you one thing. There's two things I posted, my Twitter thing about Trip. It's kind of funny, and I put the channel in there for you. So Trip right now had a funny trade. Trade 3,000 shares on tape, so it's showing that it's up $1.60. I'm not buying that because it's already offered lower. So that was just a funny trade this morning. But what I'm looking at is holding this 20-day area right here. As you can see, this blue line's a 20-day. I put a little line there to see. So I'm really going to use $40 as my mental area, which is kind of the prior close. 40.08 is where it closed. And I would like to see a push and see if it wants to try to reclaim this 42 area. It really held pretty decent in this area every time, it was coming in this 41 or 42 area, 41.5, 42 area. So I want to see what it does there. So the two trades for me is a bounce off the 20 first thing this morning, see if it wants to push 42. If it wants to stuff, meaning a lower high, then I'll use that level to trade off of and fade it back to 40. But I just think the way that it dropped yesterday, I think there's a trade both sides of this. So the bounce back up towards 42, see what it does, and then maybe reverse and fade it back. So that's why I'm throwing it out there, because I think there might be some good action in the name, and it's good to join the trend. If you recognize that's making higher lows, or something like that, that might be the time to entry. And if you same thing, if you recognize the lower highs on this thing when it's hitting 42 in this old support area, make sure that you're being smart about it, and make sure you take some profits on the way up if you guys like the idea. But that's what I'm going to be thinking about on this name. So let me move along to Etsy for a sec. Etsy's one I want to be very careful with today. And the reason I want to be careful with it is it's only day 2 of this move, but I think we have very defined levels. And what I want to show you is so Etsy right now is kind of opening up close to unchanged, maybe up a smidge. But what I'm thinking about with Etsy is a push up on this 26 area would be ideal, using yesterday's high, which is like 26.20, call it, and then trading off of that for a fade. I think it's a little bit extended. Okay, so if it doesn't want to push that high and maybe trades up just a little bit at the open and gets a small push 26.60, I'll use either today's highs, but you could also see yesterday. Going back to the daily, you have a couple levels to use. One of them is right here, this 25.80, 25.75 area to use as an out. Or at the end of the day, you could use even 25.50 if it doesn't get going. So I'm looking for a fade on this, and I'm looking for it to fade back down towards that 24 level, which is going to bring it right into that pocket of what I look for on a retrace play, which starts getting into that 50% or 40% area where it starts hitting my radars. So I think there's a definite nice setup there. I'll throw in a little bonus for you there. Just a quick comment on Overstock. I see it's kind of, revving up a little bit off the lows of 53. I was looking at this thing for a swing long, by the way, if it did get back in these low 50s. I don't make much of. I know why it's down, with the news and what it's coming in with, being subpoenaed. But I think this was I think this was already out there a little bit. I don't think this is something. I think you're going to get a little bit of a reaction this morning, and I just want to have it on the radar. Overstock for a bounce off that $50 area. As you can see, it's kind of a prior area, this 49, 50 area. Just as a little bonus, it is on my radar this morning. I know it's a pretty active name, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to Rick. You guys stay safe today. Let's have a great day. It's Thursday. And first day of the month, guys, you don't need to race to get your P&L in for the whole month. Take your time, hit your plans. Hopefully you have your goals down for this month. And let's have a great first day of the month, guys. All right, Ricky, off to you, man.
Thanks a lot, buddy. And definitely agreeing with you on Overstock. This is not your typical cryptocurrency turd. Overstock is a very well-capitalized company that was in the tech industry or the internet companies. So they're not something that's just going to be surprised by the SEC like that. Anyways, guys, as always, make sure you have a plan before you take any trades. No plan equals no trade. Be smart. Stay patient. Let's go out there and crush it. Peace.